has turned out to be a wild and wacky 125 National Motocross campaign. The stars lined up right for Team Suzuki's Danny Smith at round 4 in Southwick. After tragedy struck his family, the likable Smith went out and won the first AMA National of his career. This is just unbelievable. Danny Smith has been through a really tough couple weeks. For everyone at the race, including his family and even his closest competitors, it was a day to share in celebration. Danny Smith's win, accompanied with Moto DNS by series points leader Chad Reed and rookie sensation James Stewart, allowed Smith and Honda's Ernesto Fonseca to climb back into title contention. So here we go again. It's time for another action-packed adventure in U.S. motocross. It's time for AMA Chevy Trucks U.S. National Motocross Racing. This afternoon, 125cc outdoor motocross from Jonathan Beasley's Budds Creek Raceway. After a little bit of rain, the track is dried out and conditions are perfect. Hello everyone, I'm Davey Coombs, and this afternoon we are in Budds Creek, Maryland. A beautiful day for motocross racing. This is the 5th round of the 125 National Championship Series, and taking a look at our point standings, you can see it's been very interesting so far. Chad Reed is our leader with 1 win, but just 5 points behind him is James Stewart. James has won 2 races, but he's also DNF'd 2 motos. And then our 3rd place rider, maybe the biggest surprise of all, Danny Smith, the winner of last week's Southwick National. Cameron Steele caught up with him down on the starting line.
Thanks, Davey. Well, I'm down here on the starting gate for Moto number 1. I'm with Danny Smith, last week's winner. Last week getting your first win at Outdoor Nationals. Trying times for you. How are you feeling coming into this weekend?
Pretty good. I'm actually just trying to put last week out of my mind and start over with a clean slate, you know, week to week. But last week did give me some more confidence, and just want to go out and do the same thing. Back to the basics, a good start, and strong riding.
Your practice has looked like it's gone very well. You feel like you have what it takes here to win today?
Sure. You know, like I said, my confidence is at another level, and my fitness is getting back to where I want it to be week by week now. I have a little bit of catch-up to doing, but still feel strong out there. It's just a matter of me doing the right things as far as rest and preparation. So my trainer, Jeff Spencer, and we got that dialed in, so there's no reason I can't run up front.
Well, speaking of Jeff Spencer, the trainer certainly had his hands full last week in Southwick when one of his other riders, Chad Reed, the series points leader, came off a jump and popped his shoulder out of socket right there. Cost him a DNF, but he wasn't the only rider who had a DNF. Team Kawasaki's James Stewart suffered a mechanical breakdown, his 2nd in a row, and this after injuring his knee at High Point. We spoke with both riders about their physical conditions.
This weekend, I just want to get through it, you know, and I think I can still ride in the top 3 and get, you know, a fair amount of points where, you know, Bubba's not going to leave me, and I just got to just keep it in this weekend.
I felt pretty good in practice today and yesterday, and hopefully I can keep it going. I mean, hopefully I can get it going 1-1 today and just have fun at it. But yeah, definitely, I think the knee's real good, and we'll see.
And now for a look at this Budds Creek track, here's the 3rd member of our team, David Bailey.
And Davey, as you mentioned, the rain has come down here at Budds Creek. Yesterday, it was raining a little bit before they started practice. They scraped the mud off to the side, and it was perfect. Today, they put that mud back out onto the track, spread it out. They should have a lot of lines today. And this is one of the only tracks that regularly changes the direction. Today, it's running the normal direction, of course, the famous direction where Doug Henry flew off the jump and broke his back. Hopefully, he's not coming back to make a comeback ride here today. But the track is in perfect shape, and I think it's a little bit smooth right now, but it will start to get rough a little later on. And one thing to watch for, especially off the start, is riders are able to get away because a couple of these tight off-camber corners develop a one-line situation.
Taking a look at our Suzuki starting lineup, Chad Reed at the top of the field, James Stewart 5 points behind him. Then you have the Southwick winner, Danny Smith. A little further down, Brock Sellards is back after a few weeks off with that Epstein-Barr's disease. He's hoping to just get out there and get some points. And then Ben Townley, a newcomer from Australia, testing the U.S. motocross wires before he goes back to the 125 GPs of Europe. Now they have a concrete starting pad here, and it goes into a very sharp right-handed first turn. Usually a lot of pileups here. The cart is sideways and the gate is ready to drop, and the Yamaha Budds Creek National is underway. And right up the middle, you see James Stewart in the yellow gear, and he's got himself a hole shot.
Well, earlier in the season, James Stewart had a lot of trouble getting starts. Now, he must just sit on the starting line and feel like he's going to get the start every single time. He's been strong.
See him reeling away there. Buddy Antunez in second, and then that was Troy Adams, a rookie from Brooksville, Florida, in third on the YC250F. Danny Smith also coming up in there. Down into one of those off cameras you were talking about, David. There goes Stewart. And look, he's already got a little bit of room on Antunez.
Little Supercross section right there. He quadruples in, doubles out. Listen to how hard he is on the power, trying to pull away already. Antunez must be thinking, geez, I can't even stay with this guy for the first quarter of a lap.
Smith has moved into third, so you have two Suzukis in second and third, and then a couple privateers, Troy Adams and Ohio's Jeff Gibson, and then you see Sellards. Second place, Antunez, coming off a couple very fine rides for the veteran rider. He's of course, is an Arenacross star, but on the outdoor national circuit, Roger DeCosta and the Suzuki people have been very happy with how he's going so far.
Jeremy Aldrich, that's the mechanic for James Stewart. Here comes James through the off-camber sections. This is where it does get a little bit one line. Look at the speed he carries through that corner. These guys don't even have him in sight. But for Danny Smith right there running in third, it's a good follow-up to last week's win. He's right in position again to put himself in a situation where he could potentially get the overall today.
And you saw a real quick glimpse of Chad Reed. He got off the start about 10th, and David, that's just not going to cut it with Stewart getting these starts.
No, but I think Chad Reed understands today, and like he sort of, as we talked to him earlier, he knows that there's no way he's going to be able to run Stewart's pace. What he has to do is just take his time and try not to let all these guys get away from him. Hopefully they'll make mistakes, get tired, and he can pick off some of these guys one by one and just limit the amount of points he loses today.
Now here they come to Henry's Hill for the first time. You see Antunez gets a little sideways there, and Smith comes to the inside, and Antunez is able to hold him off, and then he gets him coming out of the corner.
Well, Antunez just probably trying to shake that off a little bit. That was pretty squirrely. Sometimes your ankles get smacked into the frame right there. You'll start to feel that a little bit later. Watch how hard he lands. Bam! Right there. He just bottoms out.
And that's about half as far as Doug Henry went. He landed where they are right now.
Yeah, that just ruined Antunez's rhythm as he got into that berm down there to the right, and Danny Smith was all over it.
So now this is the battle for fourth. You see Chad Reed has moved up into sixth place. He's behind Adams, and then Gibson. You see it's a trio of YZ250S. You'd think that they'd have a better chance on this track because of the power advantage they have on these long hills.
Yeah, it's the start, though, that matters the most. And if you don't get the start, like we were talking about, some of these sections are becoming a little bit one line. As that gets rougher, these guys will start searching for new lines. The second moto, I would expect the track to be in much better shape in terms of how rough it gets and the line choices. But Reed is going to have a tough time getting around these guys because they have the same power plant, the same characteristics, the way they pull away out of the corners. And James Stewart, maybe, is just gone. I don't believe the lead the kid has already.
This is Chad Reed's first visit to the Budds Creek track, but we should also mention it's the first visit for James Stewart as well. And then this guy, Ben Townley, you were talking about earlier, he is on loan from Van Gani Racing, which is a KTM satellite team over in Europe. He's been contesting the 125 GPs, but he might be the next European rider that we see come over here.
And he's following Chad Reed's every move right now. And there's Brock Sellards. He's got Jesseman right behind him. These guys definitely need to get better starts, especially Jesseman. He's got so much speed. In fact, Jesseman can actually get up there and run a little bit with Stewart at times, but he's not even going to see him in this moto.
Down into the bottom of Henry Hill, Reed tries an outside line, then he comes up by the mechanics area. And David, he should be glad that the track's not that rough right now with that shoulder.
Yes, he's working perfect. And after this race, they get a 2-week break. It actually turns out to be 3 before they go back to the next round at Redbud. So that's going to be perfect for him to get that shoulder strong. And the fact that he was able to ride as well as he did at Southwick, I'm sure that he'll be able to get up into the top 3 today overall and not lose too many points. He may lose the points lead, but he knows it's a long series. Championship, the whole other story, he should be ready.
You saw a little bit of dicing going on right there. Troy Adams doing a wonderful job of holding off Reed as they go through one of the big off-camber turns here. That goes back to what you're saying, a little bit of one line. You have to be creative and inventive to get around someone here. They got the same amount of power. It's going to be tough.
It's just a fast pace right now. There's not a lot of thinking going on. Everyone pretty much runs the same pace right now, and it just is a lot of intensity in these early laps. As soon as the track starts to get rougher, there's one section right there where he had to pick up his intensity, charge to the outside, and just motor around him to make that pass happen. And he really couldn't do that in the bumps at Southwick.
So Reed goes into 4th place, finally moving by the privateer Adams. And you see another privateer, Jeff Gibson, solid 6th place with Ben Townley behind him. But right now, James Stewart making mincemeat out of this 125 National here at Budds Creek. Danny Smith, Buddy Antunez, and Chad Reed are following.
There's never been any...
Speedworld's presentation of AMA Motocross is brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, and scooters. Honda, performance first. And by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. You are watching the battle for 3rd here at the Yamaha National in Budds Creek, Maryland. Buddy Antunez, the veteran Suzuki rider, leading Chad Reed, the less than 100% Yamaha rider.
I have to say right now, Davey, I'm impressed with the way Antunez has ridden this year. It's Supercross and outdoors. I just didn't know how fast he was going to be after doing all that Arenacross racing. Of course, he dominated that, but I just didn't know how much that was going to really prep him for this stuff. And he's held Chad Reed back there. Of course, Chad isn't at total 100% right now, but still, Antunez is riding well and gapping the rest of the pack.
It's also weird to think that Antunez is twice as old as our leader, James Stewart.
And you know what? We're not seeing a lot of James Stewart because our camera guys have got to be getting mixed up as to what's going on. He is so far ahead, it doesn't even seem like he's the leader.
You see Reed trying a couple different lines. Now they come down the big ski jump. He is trying to find a way around it right there, inside out. Pretty much nothing Antunez could do there, David.
That was nice. And that was where I was talking about some of those ruts developing later in the race. You're going to have more choices. Look at all these ruts. Reed's doing a little thinking right here. He's going, okay, I'm going to come in wide. And if he just goes a little bit too far outside, I'm going to sneak in there. It worked perfect. Antunez going, oh, man, where did he come from?
Nice pass by Reed. Now, going back a little bit, this is Sellards. He is being chased by the 17-year-old Ben Townley, and then Branden Jesseman coming up behind him. Jesseman, another one of those guys that, like you were saying, David, needs a good start.
Well, the one thing I like about the way Jesseman rides, he's always aggressive, and regardless of the start he gets, he's a strong finisher. He reminds me of Ezra Lust when he was riding well, and Ezra's starting to get that back now where he finishes the races strong. So if he's back there, he can never just let up. You know that in the last couple of laps, he's going to raise his pace even more.
You know, Mike Brown is another rider that kind of has that pedigree going for him. We should mention that Brown did decide to race today after sitting out the Southwick race, but right now he is back in 18th place on the #1 Pro Circuit Kawasaki. Sellards in 5th right now. As we were saying at the top of the show, he has just come back from a disease or a virus that actually causes chronic fatigue. And the doctor said, Brock, you're going to live with this for a long time. You just have to learn to deal with it. So Sellards back in action after sitting out from the Glen Helen opener on.
Yeah, and it does seem like he's sat out quite a bit of time now, but I'm concerned that it's not enough. The Epstein bar isn't something to mess with, and what you have to do is rest. You have to do nothing, and it's so hard for these guys to sit around and do that while the Nationals are going on, but if he comes back too soon, he's going to fight this longer, and I just hope that he is totally recovered.
Townley doing a nice job of holding Jesseman out until he got to that point right there, and Jesseman pulled a trick out of Chad Reed's bag.
The outside in, he just squared him off. Now the track is starting to get some lines, and the berms that were good are starting to get fouled up a little bit here and there, so you've got to think a little bit more. The second moto is going to be a lot more of that.
Jesseman, of course, last week got second in the opening moto at Southwick in the sand. Kind of had himself in a good position and maybe make a challenge for the overall, and then he dropped his bike in the first turn.
He's had his chances, and the good news is that he's fast.
Oh, Mike Brown. Sorry, Dave. Mike Brown just caught a glimpse of him riding off the track. Brown, of course, with that knee injury, that does not bode well for the Pro Circuit rider.
No, the championship is definitely over with, and you can see how fast Stewart went by. All you got with him was a glimpse.
Let's go down to Cameron Steele in the mechanics area with hopefully an update on Mike Brown.
Down here in the pits, the one story going on. The Pro Circuit Kawasaki team not having a great race. Mike Brown, who was injured before he came into this event, went off the track. We saw him right away just a few seconds ago. Also, Eric Sorby, he went off the track. Not sure what's going on. The bike hurt some planking in the back. Might be a loose sprocket, but not good news for the Pro Circuit boys. The race continues behind me. They're heading back into the pits. Still out there for him, though. Matt Walker's out there. You never know what's going to happen with that kid. And also Bobby Bond.
Oh, David, not a good year for Mitch Payton's Pro Circuit team.
No, that's too bad. The Supercross series started that way, and then he had Matt Walker win a race in Houston, and then Sorby came over and had some success, and Brown won a moto at the opening national. We thought it might be picking back up, but it started to fall apart here again today.
Stewart out front, and it's Smith, Reed, and Antunez. We will be back to Budds Creek in a moment.
News at your fingertips.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Yamaha National at Budds Creek, and you're watching the battle for fourth. Number 100, Buddy Antunez, being trailed by Brock Sellards, who has put on an exceptional ride in his return to 125 National Racing. Then you caught a glimpse of Branden Jesseman in sixth.
Jesseman is closing on these guys a little bit, but Sellards is really the one on the move right now. Antunez is doing a good job of trying to survive this pressure, but it just seems inevitable that Sellards is going to get it.
They come up around to the finish line, and now back up to the battle for second. This is Smith, and he's leading Reed. There are 2 laps to go in this first moto. And there goes Sellards on the inside, and he passes right after the finish line. He passes Antunez. Sellards up in the 4th place, a very impressive ride.
I'm impressed with the way he's jumped back into it. Usually when you sit out for a while, as long as he did in fact, over a month, and you get back into this, you know, you feel good, but the pace is so much different when you're racing versus practicing. And he's able to make that pass, still come out of the corner and do that little double he's been doing.
Now you see Antunez getting some pressure from his teammate Jesseman. Closing stages here of the first moto up around the top of the hill. This is where Jesseman passed Townley. And Antunez is going to hold that inside line. He probably knows a little more than Townley.
Yeah, he's been here before. In fact, Antunez has done well at this track.
Oh, and Danny Smith is now off the side of the track. Actually, he's right in the middle of the track. Danny Smith, and that bike is locked up. What a tough break. Smith was holding second, and now you see everyone going by him. What a tough break for Danny Smith at the very end of the moto, David.
Well, you hate to see that, especially with Smith right now. We talked about it at the top of the show and last week, the problems that he's had with his family. And
well, it's a good thing this didn't happen last week.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, it doesn't make it that much better that it's happening this week. I'm glad he got to win the National. It did change his confidence quite a bit, but
that's Andrew Short of the MotoRacing.com team on the sidelines today, helping him push his bike out. Now, back to the front of the field. We're on our final lap, and there's James Stewart. Haven't seen much of him. Nobody has seen much of him.
Now, the lead he had early in the race was one of the biggest leads I've ever seen. The guys that were battling for second place, they never even got to see him through here on the first lap. He was already gone over that jump, so we're going to have to go back and study the videotape.
Speaking of second place, let's go to Cameron Steele. He's with Danny Smith's mechanic.
Well, guys, this is something you never want to see. Last week, Southwick champion Danny Smith, his bike's here with his mechanic, Billy Phelps. Billy, Danny not able to continue in the race. Any idea what's going on?
Oh, no, I guess I spoke too soon. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't know what happened. Something mechanical. It's on my shoulders. We'll take it back and see what happens. Get him out here for the next moto.
Well, Billy, we know you're a great mechanic, and luck has to play into it. Last week, the winner. Anything can happen. Moto number 2 will be back, right?
Yes, sir, definitely. Thank you.
Right on, Billy. Get up there. He's got to work on the bike, but not a good sign. Danny Smith, last week's champion, not able to continue. Just continues the story on the 125cc class. So many different things happening. You never know who's going to be the winner.
Well, that is exactly what we saw happen in James Stewart last week in the first moto at Southwick, only Stewart was way out front. This time, the luck goes to Danny Smith, a bad luck, I should say.
Yeah, James Stewart is like, hey, been there, done that, twice. That's about 45 points or so, perhaps 50. I don't know that he would have won that moto at Mount Morris, but about between 45 and 50 points he would have right now in the championship, which would have him solid in the lead, but I like it this way better. It makes it close.
You see Stewart on full cruise control, one hand waving at the Budds Creek faithful. He is so far in front. He has just dominated our first moto. And there is the checkered flag James Stewart gets the win. Now, jumping back in the field, this is our battle for fourth. Antunez and Jesseman. Like you were saying, David, Jesseman, strong finisher.
That is such a difficult corner to try to make a pass. And Antunez did exactly what he needed to do. He just held that inside. And if you could feel Jesseman coming on his left to put a block pass on the next corner, all he had to do was drift out into his line. So far, so good for Antunez, but it's not over yet.
Jesseman trying to set up a pass here in the last sweeping corner. It's going to be a drag race up the hill to the finish line, and it looks like Antunez holds him off. Well, that's the end of the first moto. When we come back, we will talk to our winner, James Stewart.
ESPN.
By the time the 1992 125 National Championships reached the final round at Budds Creek, Jeff Emig had overcome a massive 80-point lead for Mike LaRocco to close within a single point of the leader. With Budds Creek serving as a winner-take-all showdown, Emig bolted to the front of the pack in the first moto. Behind him, LaRocco got too close to a track marker and broke the shifter off of his factory Kawasaki, much to the dismay of his mechanic, Mike LaRocco Sr. Well, LaRocco ended up finishing 13th in the moto. He effectively handed Emig the moto win and the points lead. An afternoon rain shower made things a little more interesting for the second moto, but Emig once again grabbed the whole shot and flat out disappeared. As the notoriously poor starting LaRocco fought his way through the mud in the rest of the pack, Emig chalked up the first of his 4 championship titles that afternoon in Maryland. As for Mike LaRocco, he had to settle for second overall. Well, 10 years later, the weather conditions are much different here in Maryland for the 5th round of the U.S. Motocross Championships. The first moto is in the book. James Stewart, our winner. Chad Reed, second. Third place, Brock Sellards. Here's Cameron Steele.
Well, Brock, a lot of people are asking how healthy you were, and I guess you're pretty healthy at third place, standing on the podium here in Moto number 1.
Yeah, you know, I done been busting my butt with blood work and everything, see if I was all right for this race, and it just got in Friday, and the doctor told me that you know, I'm pretty much beating the virus. It's kind of, it'll always be with me, but it's behind me right now, so I just can't let it catch a hold of me. He wants me to take my heart rate after this race and see if it comes back down, and if so, I get the go to keep on riding. If not, I hope I don't have to sit out anymore, but it feels great to get out here. I don't feel, you know, tired at all out there.
Right on, well, you're beating the virus, and your boss here, Ron, you got to be pretty happy to have Brock back at the races.
Yeah, it's good to get Brock back here, and I think this is a big race. He started out the season and had a real good start at Glen Helen, and, you know, I think taking a couple weeks off, letting himself get healthy and get back out there, get on the bike, and, you know, Brock and his KTM seems to really do a good job together.
Right on, well, Brock, we hope to see you out there in Moto 2. You don't seem too winded. You can't be sick.
No, I'm not sick no more. It's just time to go racing. Thanks a lot.
Right on, thanks.
Thanks.
Well, a very impressive ride for Brock Sellards in his comeback. He beat the Suzukis of Antunez and Jesseman. The rider you don't see, of course, Danny Smith breaking down while second. That left it up to Stewart Reed, and Cameron Steele with both of them down in the winner's circle.
Well, we got you guys up here together on the podium. The top two, Chad, question the shoulder. Hasn't been giving you problems. It didn't look like it was holding you up much in that moto.
It's not so much the pain, it's just, you know, the feeling of it coming back out and just a little bit weak and coming down those hills. It's starting to get rough and it's kind of rutted, so just trying to hold on and just get through this weekend.
Well, definitely the injury is a problem. You're standing here with James Stewart, both you guys newcomers to the Nationals. James has quite a style. He kind of hangs it out and goes wide. When you get behind him, you want to get in the race with him, and what is about James' style you think that makes him so quick?
You know, he rides great. He has a, you know, a great style. I love watching him, and I'd much rather him be watching me, but no, he gets good starts, and I just got to get a good start and just practice being like a light switch like him and just turn on and get out of there.
Right on. Well, he's talking about how fast you are. He wants you to get behind him. I know you don't want to do that. Talk about Chad. He's got quite a style as well, a little bit different riding style, but he's always there, always fighting for the win.
Yeah, definitely. This guy never slows down at the end of the race, and you know, if he's right there, it's going to be tough. I mean, I feel with confidence in my trainer. I'm not tired at all, and I'm just waiting for the battle. I mean, my Kawasaki's giving me out to a great start, so it's easier for me just to get out front and have fun.
Well, both you guys are great racers and would be great champions. Talk about the track out there, James. I mean, is it rough? It looks pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, definitely. The track's real fast, and it's starting to get a little rutted out there, and getting a couple of kickers on the big old jump. So, you know, definitely that second moto is going to be a little bit rougher.
Ryan, we're looking forward to seeing you guys battle in Moto number 2. Is that cool?
Yeah, we'll try and get off the start and we'll go for it.
James?
That's fine.
Right on. Well, we'll see you in Moto 2.
Some upcoming races in the U.S. Motocross circuit. Make sure you log on to www.usmotocross.com for more information. Now, this week's Honda Tech Tip.
Hi, I'm Ron Wood of this week's Honda Tech Tip. This week's tip involves bleeding your front forks. It's very important to do this after every moto. You do this by unscrewing the small cap in the front of your forks and letting all the air come out. Once the air comes out, you screw the cap back in. This keeps your suspension nice and flush and even after every moto. It's important to do this often. I'm Ron Wood of this week's Honda Tech Tip.
Well, it's in between motos, and I've caught up with Grant Langston. Grant, not able to be racing. You can see these are crutches, sticks, as they call them, and Grant had a knee operation. Tell us what's been going on and what was the surgery all about?
Basically, it goes back to when I injured my knee during the Supercross season. I had the orthoscopic surgery, and I came back, and, you know, I probably started riding a little earlier than I should have, but, you know, with any kind of meniscus or tissue damage, once it's cleaned up, they tell you that, you know, that you can't really do any more damage. So I started riding a little earlier to get ready for Glen Helen, and then you know, every time I went out riding, Glen Helen was a ride, but then after that it just seemed to kind of get a little worse. Every time I rode, it would swell up, get a little more painful, and after Sacramento I couldn't even walk barely because you know, it hurt so bad, and I went to the doctor and they said they'd have to do another operation, and when they went in, you know, they found out that the bone cartilage had started flaking off, so I had bits of bone cartilage floating around that were getting wedged in.
I gotta ask you, when are we gonna see you back racing? I know you're not gonna come back early because there's no chance of a points championship here, but when will we see you back on a motorcycle? This outdoor season?
Oh, definitely. You know, I'm the type of guy, I'm a little stubborn. I just want to go and race, and I always come back sooner than I should. And, you know, I have to take it real serious this time because, you know, if the knee gets any worse, it could be a, you know, a very serious injury that would require total knee reconstruction, would put me out for about a year. So, you know, as much as I want to come back soon, you know, I said to people I want to be back for Redbud, and my family and doctors are like, no. But, you know,
sooner or later, someone's going to knock you in the head if you keep trying to come back too early.
I hope to be back for Redbud, but, you know, if they all hold a gun to my head and don't allow me to, I don't have much of a choice. But I really want to make it, and if it's not, you know, it'll probably be the race or two after that. But I'll definitely be back to do, you know, the last 4 rounds for sure.
All right, Grant, you're the ultimate expert. You're out of the points. Give us your top 3 in the points when the season ends, and don't try to tap dance around this one. I want it. 1, 2, and 3 right now from you.
Man, that's a tough one.
I said don't tap dance. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Lots of pressure here.
I mean, it's either Bubba or Reed. It's going to be the one or two of them. They're going to be first and second. I'm not sure which order. And if I can be back for Redbud, you know, I might put myself in third.
There you go. Well, that's going to do it from here at the pits. Grant Langston out here hanging out, have fun. We hope to see him back soon.
Well, David, he really went out on a limb with that one, Reed or Stewart. Now, as we get ready for the second moto, let's go to this week's Racer X Pit Pass for a behind-the-scenes look at the Yamaha National at Budds Creek.
All-American Budds Creek.
Mike Too Tall Bell had a passion for motorcycle racing. In his career, Mike won 20 AMA National and Supercross events, plus the 1980 U.S. Supercross Championship. He was also the runner-up 4 other times. Mike never lost his love affair with motorcycles or his competitive spirit. In fact, Mike recently was invited to participate in Canada's famed Num Bum 24-hour ice race. He had never raced on the ice before, but he was soon as fast on the slippery surface as anyone else out there. Now Mike Bell's a regular in the Yamaha Race of Champions and numerous other events in Southern California.
Bell working around the outside.
He also happily admits that his race times have been on the decline in the past few years. Maybe the reason is that his 13-year-old son Trevor and 10-year-old daughter Brooke are following in Dad's footsteps. He is now the coach and not the racer. And 4-year-old Sean may not be racing yet, but it's just a matter of time. For the last 18 years, Mike worked in a number of positions with Oakley. He recently accepted an offer from White Brothers to become their Vice President of Marketing and Product Development. With their children, Mike and his wife Linda live in Forest Hill, California.
Right now we are back in Budds Creek, Maryland. We are in between motos of the 125 Yamaha National. And right now, as it stands, Chad Reed is still our points leader, but James Stewart has narrowed it down to just 2 points.
I wonder what was going through his mind when he popped that shoulder out of joint in Southridge. He might have thought that that was going to be the championship right there. It certainly looked like it, but it's amazing that he's been able to preserve that points lead to this point.
As we wait for the second moto, taking a look at the Suzuki starting lineup. Reed and Stewart again at the top of the field. Danny Smith will be back out there after that first moto DNF. Mike Brown, number 1, you saw him there on your screen. He has already left the racetrack. Mike Brown abdicating the number 1 plate and the national championship crown early in the season.
That's too bad for Mike Brown because this track would have suited him.
Brown, of course, won both motos last year. Can James Stewart repeat the feat this year? They are getting ready to drop the starting gate on the second moto here at Budds Creek, and there goes the gate, and they're off. And right up the middle, it's James Stewart once again, and it looks like that was, well, it's a clean start. It looks like, yes, it's Buddy Antunez at second again. That's Sellards, Plano Honda's David Pinkley, Steve Boniface, and Branden Jesseman. Where is Chad Reed?
Even a worse start this time, Davey, and you have to think that Antunez is going, all right, I got another chance. I'm not going to let Stewart get away from me this time because after about 4 corners in that first moto, he couldn't even see him anymore.
Well, it looks like he's getting smaller in front of Buddy Antunez. Stewart, once again, a fast start and starting to pull away. And there you caught a glimpse of Ernesto Fonseca. Didn't mention him very much in the first moto, David. He came through the pack to finish 7th.
Well, he's done that twice. He did that in the opening round at Glen Helen, went down the first lap, came all the way back up to 7th, and it's killing him in terms of trying to catch up to the leaders, Chad Reed and James Stewart, who have given him plenty of opportunities, but it helped him when Danny Smith broke down solidly into 3rd. Right in the center of your picture, Stewart doing a little bit of a wheelie. I thought he might have to let off and give the pole shot to somebody else, but he just leans into everyone. Gets the same hole shot he got the first moto. It looks exactly the same, and he's starting to pull away just like he did in the first moto.
It's like he's got it all going on today.
He does. And, you know, his confidence level when he's sitting on the starting line must be pretty high. And there was a time when that was a problem for him. Coming through the pack wasn't a problem in terms of his speed, but it was a problem in terms of him making some bad choices and going down and crashing. That seems to be all behind him now.
And here's another face that we didn't see very much in the first moto, Steve Boniface. He is leading his teammate Brock Sellards in the battle for 3rd right now. Jesseman is in 5th, then comes Fonseca. And as you can see, David, just as you said it, where the track is getting rougher, look at those grooves coming down toward Henry Hill.
Yeah, and that's tough because you're going into the shade in spots, and it's hard to pick your line. And if you don't pick one just right and get into those ruts in that high-speed section a little crooked, you can go right over the handlebars. You see how fast these guys come through that mechanics area. It's tough coming up that hill and you try to line up for that berm and look at your signal board all at the same time, and especially if you're in traffic. A lot of these guys are not seeing what those mechanics put there.
This is Jesseman on the Blimpie Suzuki trying to go inside of Sellards. He could not make the pass on either Sellards or his teammate Buddy Antunez in the first moto. Jesseman ended up 5th, and on the inside, there goes Boniface. Very nice move in the off-camera section. He caught Antunez off guard there.
Yeah, Antunez just looked like he drifted over that berm a little bit. Just kind of dilly-dallying around there going, man, I got to get back up into the groove, and Boniface is all over him. Watch Boniface, got his finger on the clutch, is feathering around the inside into the berm. He just lays it in and powers. Antunez drifted down into that second berm. That's all it takes. Get his foot out of the way before he got to run over.
You could even see Boniface pop down that berm, but in that case, it was a perfect defensive measure. Antunez came and could pass back. This guy got right in front of him. And now here comes Jesseman on the inside of Sellards. Jesseman makes a move on one of the KTMs. So now it's Sellards second, Antunez third, Jesseman fourth, then Boniface, and then Fonseca on the factory Honda.
So if it wasn't for Stewart out front, this would be a great battle for the lead, but he is gone.
It's kind of like what we see in the 250 class sometimes with Ricky Carmichael.
Hey, you don't even see him in the shots. He has completely disappeared all the way up over this double jump, and Fonseca is at the tail end of this train.
Let's go down to the pit area. Cameron Steele has some news for us.
Well, guys, as you can see the bike riding away, Eric Sorby having a tough moto number 1 and now a tough moto number 2. What happened to the motorcycle?
I don't know. The first race, I broke in my gearbox, and now I have a big vibration in my back. I cannot ride it. It's a very bad race for me today.
A very tough day for you. Sorry to see you going out on the moto. We'll see you back next race.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Well, the good news for Sorby, David, his English is getting a lot better. Now back up to the battle for second. You can see Boniface, Antunez, and Jesseman goes inside now. Right there, Boniface did the same thing. Only in reverse, he made the mistake and went down low.
Well, he was trying to get creative to get around Antunez, and he left the door wide open. He didn't realize that Jesseman was quite that close. He should have, because Jesseman was all over to the corner before.
And there goes Fonseca by Boniface as well. So all at once, Boniface loses 2 spots. So now it's Antunez second, Jesseman third, then Fonseca, and now Sellards comes on the inside.
And still no Chad Reed.
And here comes Jesseman trying to pass his teammate on the outside. Trying to out-jump him there, but he's going that hairpin. There's not a lot of room.
Now this is a tough section to pass. Although we saw Brock Sellards make a move through that section, there he is. He's actually getting around that first left and doubling into the next right.
Jesseman trying to get around his teammate, tries an inside move, and he's going to make the pass there over the tabletop. So Jesseman, a much better start this moto, and he's second early, but can he even see James Stewart?
No, he can't see him. Nobody can. And, you know, he had about a 10-second lead at the end of the first lap. That's growing. It's about 18 right now, and even if these guys keep the pace with Stewart, they're not going to close the gap at all. They'll never see him, and they didn't see him in the first moto either. Somebody here is going to have to break free and really turn up the screws to try to put a dent in Stewart's confidence before he just runs away with his title.
Well, the one guy that's got the health and the fitness to do it is in second place. That's Branden Jesseman. There goes Fonseca on the inside of Antunez. Now, that's the same corner. Antunez got passed by Reed in the first moto. Only this time he came from the outside. We'll be back with more from the second moto here at Budds Creek.
TV keeps getting better.
Welcome back to the Yamaha National at Budds Creek. You are watching the second 125 moto. That is Chad Reed, the series points leader, but who knows for how much longer. He had a 2-point lead coming into this moto on James Stewart, but James Stewart, for all intents and purposes, gone.
It's unbelievable the lead he has. He's been able to do it in both motos. I don't see any reason why anybody from this pack is going to catch him. Reed is going fast, but he's not going as fast as Stewart.
Chad Reed not getting a good start once again off of one of the concrete starting pads that they have on so many national tracks in America, but no tracks in Europe, where he spent his last season, and now he's having to work his way up through the pack. Right now he's behind Buddy Antunez, and then it's Brock Sellards, and there you see Reed coming over Henry Hill at the top.
It's going down those hills right there, that G-force, and through those braking bumps, that it really puts the pressure on his shoulder. And that's where he really needs to be able to lean on these guys and try to create a passing opportunity.
Nice corner coming out there, but Sellards is able to get out of the corner just a little bit faster, and then Sellards goes over the outside of the berm. And look, he's having a problem with this tear-off. You can see him waving it around there, and that's all the room Chad Reed needed.
Well, I've seen guys have one stick on their thumb a little bit, and you try to flick it off. It's still on his hand. He cannot get rid of that thing.
Taking a look at the pass once again.
Well, Reed just been going outside in, just squaring him off over and over again. It finally pays off right here. I think Sellards is a little bit distracted with that tear-off. Look at him shaking it. They have a hole in them so that it doesn't blow it back. The hole allows it to still stick out, so when you reach up, you can pull it. But a lot of guys stick their thumb through that thing, and you can't get it off your glove.
Up over the 7-Eleven Big Gulf. That is the other place on this Budds Creek track where Doug Henry got hurt, broke both his wrists a few years back. We are watching Chad Reed trying to pass Buddy Antunez, and right now he's finding a roadblock in the number 100 Suzuki.
Well, this is where he was trying to create an opportunity before to get around Sellards to see if he can do the same thing. He'll come up the hill on the right. and square this corner, which sets him up better for the downhill. Does the same thing. That was beautiful. He made that corner so quick. Antunez not giving him the room right there, though, Davey. He can feel what's going on back there, and he's not going to let it happen.
Up into the top section of the track. This is the battle for fourth. Remember, James Stewart out front. There goes Reed. Reed moves into fourth. So it's Stewart first, then Jesseman, then Fonseca, and now Chad Reed. Let's go back to Cameron. He's with Mitch Payton.
Well, as the boys upstairs have been saying, everybody at home knows that Mike Brown didn't make it out here for Moto number 2. Can you tell us what the decision was and why it was made?
Well, you know, he rode the first moto and his knee was sore. And he thought he could hang in there, and he kind of stuck it down a couple times and just started hurting. And, you know, he's just not up to speed right now, so there's really nothing to gain. We'd rather see him come back when he can run up front.
So he's going to take some time off. We have 2 weeks before the next race. Is he just going to take that time, or is he going to have some surgery?
Well, he already had a surgery done the week after it was hurt. That's why it was in such bad shape last week. So he's already had orthoscopic surgery done on it. There's nothing we can do till the end of the season. We're going to let it go a couple weeks, and then hopefully it'll just get a little bit stronger by itself, I hope.
Back to the action on the track, the battle for fifth. Danny Smith going inside of his Suzuki teammate. Can't make the pass stick. Antunez holds on to fifth. Smith having to come from way back in the pack. He did not have a very good starting position on the starting gate after DNF in the first moto, and now he's having to work his way through the pack.
Doing a good job. And at least, you know, it's unfortunate that your bike breaks at the end of the race. You're thinking, if the thing's going to break, why not break at the beginning so don't use all that energy and for nothing. But what he did get to do was see how the track was developing, so he didn't have to learn it in this second moto. And he's put it to good use right now. He's worked up this far, so he's learned a lot of lines out there and put it to use right there for the pass.
Nice inside-out move by Danny Smith to take over the fifth position from Antunez.
Already starting to open a little gap. I'd be anxious to see if he can catch Chad Reed, because Danny Smith is riding at about 100%. Reed isn't.
Down the long hill, the rut's starting to really form. You saw Antunez hit a little kicker there. Then they'll turn around and head back up to one of the biggest jumps on the national circuit, the 7-Eleven Big Gulp. When we come back, James Stewart still out front. Then it's Jesseman, Fonseca, and Reed.
Anyone can.
Speedworld's presentation of AMA Motocross is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. And by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, and scooters. Honda, performance first. Finally, a glimpse of James Stewart. He is out front and in absolute control of this second 125 National Moto here at the Yamaha Nationals at Budds Creek. Down the pit area, Cameron Steele has come up with some real star power.
Well, guys, I'm down here in the pits with pillars of greatness, Jeff Stanton and Brock Glover. These guys know all there is to know about motocross racing. Jeff, I have to ask you, right now James Stewart is so far out in front. The kid is purely dominating everybody. What is it about his style that makes him so good?
Well, you know, he's so good in all the turns. He carries phenomenal corner speed, and that's where he's killing these guys today. A lot of nice sweeping turns here at Budds Creek, and he's just much faster in all the turns. Very, very fluid. Phenomenal rider.
Well, I'll tell you, James Stewart having a good run right now. Jeff pointing out how fluid and smooth he is at all times and how much he carries his speed. Brock, have you ever seen a rider like him? I mean, you guys obviously are two of the greatest ever, but are we seeing another great rider coming up? I mean, is he one for the ages?
I have to say so for sure, Cameron. He's excellent. He carries, as Jeff said, his corner speed's phenomenal. He's a completely class of his own out here. It's an amazing thing to watch, and I do think he's the real deal. And I'm just glad he's an American, and he's going to be racing for the United States, hopefully, the Motocross Nations team. But no, he's the real thing, and he's great for the sport, and he's done a phenomenal job.
Right on, a new king of U.S. motocross, possibly. Ricky Carmichael's been dominating the 250s. We're going to have to see what James can do in the future. Thanks, guys.
Well, David, like Jeff and Brock, you've got yourself a trophy case full of championships. What do you think of this rider?
David, he's the best rider I've ever seen at this stage in his career, and the potential there is just incredible. Take another look at the shot we have of him. Look at the strength, and how high up he has his leg to allow him to lay that bike over pinned like that. His instincts are perfect. He always finds the most clever way around the racetrack, and he has the intensity to make that all look even better.
Last week I compared his riding style to a young Robbie Raynard. Who would you compare him to?
That's the thing that's hard to figure out, because his style is so unique, and it's a lot different, you know. I mean, to watch this kid live, whenever I watch him on TV, it's, you know, something happens with cameras and with videotape that makes it look not quite as incredible as it does in person, but it's a style all of his own, and he does things now that everybody watches and is starting to pick up on. He's the leader right now in form.
Well, he's definitely been leading all afternoon here in Budds Creek, Maryland. He got both hole shots. He led every inch of the way. In fact, he just dominated this race from start to finish. Look at him. He's not even tired, waving to the crowd, coming up the big uphill for the last time, gets it on the back wheel, and the checkered flag comes out for James Stewart, and he has regained the points lead here in the 2002 AMA Chevy Trucks U.S. National Motocross Championships. Jesseman holds on for second. Fonseca is third, and Chad Reed will finish fourth. At least I'll give him second overall. Bad shoulder and all, a good performance by Reed. Now let's go down the winner's circle where Cameron Steele has James Stewart.
Well, I'm up here with the overall champion today, going 1-1 in both motos. James Stewart just killed everybody. James, I mean, can anybody catch you? That's the question.
I hope not. I mean, I'm getting awesome starts. My Kawasaki's getting me out the gate, and just putting my head down about the first 8 laps, and just get a big old lead, and I just keep riding consistent through the whole race, and definitely, it's never easy, but it was fun.
You know, you have such a distinct style. I mean, you hang it out wide open, but you're so smooth at the same time. I mean, how do you learn that, and are these other guys going to be able to pick up on that?
I don't know. Hopefully not. I mean, I want to keep winning, but definitely, I just never let off, and I guess my style is pretty smooth. I flow with the racetrack. The rougher it gets, the better I do.
That's scary. The rougher it gets, the better he does. That's it from the podium here today. James Stewart, your overall champion.
Taking a look at our final results from the Yamaha National Budds Creek. James Stewart, of course, the winner. Chad Reed second. Branden Jesseman, a 5-2 for third overall. And then you see Ben Townley, the visitor from Australia, a nice top 10 ride. In our point standing, Stewart's out front. He's got a 5-point lead on Reed. Well, for David Bailey and Cameron Steele, this is Davey Coombs saying so long from Budds Creek, Maryland. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.